Greetings, beautiful viewers. This is Smitten. Welcome to How to Fail at Smite, my original Smite series where I pick up a new god for the first time and poke fun at how I play so that both of us can learn from my mistakes. Episode 15, Agni. Yay! Finally back in my native environment as a mid-mage. I'm matched up against Anubis and he's been acting like a dog leashed to his tower this whole game in fear of my might. I'm not sure why, as I tend to treat my noxious fumes like Anubis' grasping hands, but his constant taunts make me want to teach this puppy some discipline, and so I do so by raining fire down on him. As the last of our minions die, it's back to the status quo of him staying at his tower and me treating Agni as Ao Kuang, thinking noxious fumes is better used when it won't lead to a stun. I also seem to be allergic to auto-attacking, so I'll never get the 4 hits I need in order to trigger my passive combustion, missing out on boatloads of damage, but I seem pretty content to just hammer him every time he steps close enough to me nonetheless. I can clearly see that I'm almost out of mana, but I'm enjoying the sight of an Anubis being afraid of me for once, and so I lay down noxious fumes at his feet once again. I accidentally used the last of his Roman range to build up my passive and line up my shot for the meteor. He thinks he's safe because of his fresh wave of minions, but I land the nuke on him and run away from the minion damage. He's so low on health I can taste the kill on the tip of my tongue. He moves up to lay down grasping hands, but as soon as he sees me making my way up the lane, he pulls back to his comfort zone regardless of whether I'm out of mana or not. At this point, I'm getting a little agitated at how passive he is playing, and once Baby Slayer's ult goes down, I decide that it's showtime. I drop a single meteor on him and watch the damage tick away, but refuse to drop a second meteor before retreating away from the tower. That's all the prodding he needed to convince him to back, and so I decide to do the same, ending this anticlimactic prelude abruptly. Chapter 1, Overkill. That naughty Anubis decided it was time to pay a visit to our right lane and try to gank them, so I decided I better rotate as well. He peels into the jungle as I lay down noxious fumes and stun him with the hit from rainfire, just before he snares me and busts his ult to little effect as I just dash off towards my tower. I take a moment to look back towards the jungle, amazed that I escaped that situation with less damage taken than the Anubis who wasted his ult on me. As Hebo exits the jungle, my smugness dissipates as my first meteor misses, but as he goes for water spout, I rock him with my next hit. This is when Hebo recognizes the folly of overcommitment as Freya returns to the lane just in time to watch me miss both my stun and my flame wave as she compensates for my inaccuracy by burning her ult to finish off the fleeing Hebo. And here I demonstrate my inability to learn from the errors of others and dash through the enemy minions directly towards Anubis. I try to escape along the wall, but the Roman range proved to be too strong. Chapter 2, Swagni Too Good. Back in mid lane, I'm eager to get back in the fight and drop more bombs on this Anubis, but I'm equally eager to demonstrate that I don't have time to land 4 basic attacks so I can get combustion active before I go drop said bombs on Anubis. Having learned my lesson about those grasping hands earlier, I wait till they disappear before taking position to land another meteor, and once I'm safely within my noxious fumes, I aim for Anubis, but he sidesteps out of the way. I take this time to backpedal and remember that I have a passive to maintain, so I hit the ogre with a couple of basic attacks to get combustion ready. I've played against an Anubis in mid several times as AO, so I know what the pattern looks like when he's ready to dive his ult. With his rat mist, he pops his ult and I dance circles around him, only to see that he's being accompanied by Hebo. I dash away to my tower and move closer to land a meteor on Anubis, only to regret that decision as Hebo chips away at my health. I teasingly prance away with 78 hit points left and move into the jungle, but the sight of my ally gives me courage to stand at my tower. I move back into mid lane, and I don't want them to take down my tower I've so valiantly defended, but my ally gestures that he will defend mid lane while I go heal up. With Rob by my side and his heals ticking away, and despite 2 enemies having ranged abilities, I decide to back right in front of my tower and get taken out by Hebo. I've never done anything like this before. Honestly, this mistake is the first of its kind, and I shouldn't be judged because of it. I mean, everyone makes a really bad mistake in this game at least once, and it's okay, but I'll learn. Lol, just kidding. I totally managed to bait him into Raw. Yeah, that's what happened. Chapter 3, Agni Tank, New Meta. I return to mid lane where I find a team fight, and so far my team is rocking it. I prance my way into the lane where I see my opportune time to stun Anubis, and it actually connects! We follow their retreating team up the lane, but for some reason, the sight of Hebo is enough to make me turn face and hug the wall. I step back to gauge the situation and look for the right moment to rush in there and make a bad decision. When I see my opening, I run in and lay down noxious fumes. Usually this is enough to get the enemy to back away, but when I see that Ymir is not responding to the damage, I knock him with one of my meteors to wake him up. My team seems ready for the deicide as Freya pops her ult and tries to pick up Hebo, but then switches to Ymir. As she drops, Ra attempts to snipe Ymir, who barely steps out of the way. It's time for me to make my presence known as I dash into their tower before realizing Ymir is right in front of me. I back out and dance left and right before getting knocked into the tower by Hebo and taken out by Frost Breath. Chapter 4. Don't worry guys, I got this. Once I'm back up, I see that right lane is handling some harass by Ymir and Anubis. I stalk in the jungle and wait for Ymir to back into my noxious fumes. When he doesn't, I move into the lane and end up getting both of them with my nuke. Anubis quickly runs into the jungle to intercept me, but gets out in just enough time to miss my meteor. I continue following up the lane through the jungle. When I turn to see them back into their tower, Ymir throws up a wall, not allowing me to aim my last meteor properly, and it misses them by a long shot. Never discouraged by a missed skill shot, I toss down noxious fumes before I realize that this engagement is over and turn to run back into the jungle. Chapter 5. False Sense of Security. As I leave one engagement, another begins. I see Hebo coming in for me, and as soon as I dash around him towards middle lane, I see Artemis who attempts to land a few shots on me. I place Noxious Fumes, and with Flame Wave, I get the stun off. I prance off and zigzag around the jungle until I make it back to middle lane, where I feel like I've gotten away with my life. I'm once again feeling confident and a little smug that I got away so easily. I see the new wave of minions up close to the tower, so before I back to buy, I decide to take the wave out. It looks like Hebo was on the chase the whole time and moves in on me once again. My dash is down and he takes advantage of that as he ults in on me and takes me down with water cannon. Chapter 6.
I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
We're back and I'm moving towards right lane with Baby Slayer where two of our teammates had been taken out. We briefly consider initiating on Ymir, but decide to go for the squishies that were still in the right lane. I dish out the Noxious Fumes and Meteor combo and take out Artemis when I see Hebo ulti in on me and taking out Baby Slayer and knocking me down to half health. I've had enough of this Hebo, I want to see him boil! I slowly make my way back towards the tower, hiding right behind it and pop a health potion when I see floodwaters to my left. I turn to land my meteor, but Hebo takes me out once again! Chapter 7. Rage Quit After Rage Quit. Back home in middle lane, I frantically call it for right lane to retreat as Anubis is missing. Rod joins the call for retreat, and I go back to taking out the minions. I turn around behind me to see Hebo and Pace wondering what to do when I get notified that Baby Slayer and Freya have both left the game. We really weren't losing that bad. Fenrir's next to drop and I start to wonder if they were all in a group and thought it would be funny for them to leave me and Ra to deal with the other team. That's when I hear the enemy team is rage quitting too. That's alright, me and Ra can handle a 2v3. I pause to look at the scoreboard and see how many of them have stormed off, and when I get up to follow Ra, I see that he's quitting too. No! Ra! I can't do this by myself! It isn't until the rest of their team leave the game that I realize, oh, we're all disconnecting. Well, good game and well played to both my allies and the enemy team. If it wasn't for the random disconnect, I'm sure we would have come out victorious. Agni is an interesting god to play. I don't know if it was the flames or if it was because I was back in middle lane, but I was playing him pretty aggressively. If I would have kept up on my passive and used my dash correctly, I could have easily come out with a positive KDR, but either way, I will probably play around with him some more in the future. And on to the juicy bits. For Agni's skill prioritization, we reached out to Root Gaming's Lassiz and Drybear's Drybear. Because as far as mages go, Agni is the god I have the least experience with, and you can probably tell due to my mismanagement of his passive combustion. The way this works is actually too simple for me to be able to work around. Land 4 basic attacks and your next Flame Wave or Rain Fire will set any enemies they connect with on fire, dealing 5 magical damage scaled by 10% of your magical power, ticking 6 times over 3 seconds. That's a lot of damage that I gave up throughout the match just because I refused the auto attack. His first ability, Noxious Flames, should be deployed differently than I deployed mine. This ability lays down a cloud of fumes at the ground target location, dealing 10 to 50 magical damage scaled by 5% of your magical power and lasting 10 seconds. If you use any of Agni's ability in the radius of the fumes, you'll stun any target trapped inside for 1 second. I use this ability as if it were Ao Kuang's tornadoes, but you should deploy this under your target right before you strike. If you're using Rain Fire on your opponent, cast Rain Fire, then immediately cast at the target location to get this off before the delay before the meteor lands, netting you a bunch of damage and a stun to hammer them with. Throw a point into this at level 3 and max it last, as this is just about the stun that doesn't scale, not the damage. His next ability, Flame Wave, is Agni's standard brute force ability. He fires off flames in a line that deal 90 to 290 magical damage scaled by 50% of his magical power. Throw a point into this at level 2 and max it first. His third ability, Path of Flames, is his dash. It's probably the fastest in the game, being nearly uninterruptible once cast. On top of the speed of the dash, it also leaves the ground behind you blazing, dealing 20 to 60 magical damage scaled by 15% of your magical power, ticking 4 times over 2 seconds. Put a point into this first and max it second. If you'd like, you can even put 2 points into this early to help clear the lane faster, but that's a personal preference. If you're new to Agni, just don't use this ability offensively and you'll be fine. Save it for escapes to give you more time to learn the ropes. His ultimate ability is Rain Fire, or Meteor for my purposes. Once leveled, he gains a flaming halo and an icon next to his health bar indicating he has a meteor stored up. He can store up to 3, so always try to use your third to keep the cooldown ticking away. This ability does 175 to 335 magical damage, scaled by 60% your magical power, in a 20-foot radius at the target location. As long as you have a meteor to use, you can cast them all in succession. Though I wouldn't recommend doing this, as an Agni with a meteor is often enough to give his opponents pause. If you find yourself getting ganked, cast this on your location and follow it up with Noxious Fumes, if your dash is on cooldown to either burn down your attacker or to give you time to escape. For his item builds, we'll give you Lassiza's suggestions for a pure damage build if you need to. Don't be afraid to mix in some defensive items when necessary. Start off with a Vampiric Shroud and Boots of the Magi. Vampiric Shroud is especially necessary in mid lane. If for some reason you're in the side lane, you can hold off on the Shroud. Once you've completed your boots, go for Gem of Isolation followed by Voidstone. After that, you'll go for either Obsidian Shard, Staff of the Magus, or Rata Tahuti, depending on what you're up against. If you need a lot of magical penetration, pick up Obsidian Shard. If they aren't stacking it too heavily, get the Spear of the Magus. As the way Agni combos his abilities, you'll get the stacks quickly. If neither of those are necessary, Rata Tahuti for the raw magical boost. After you finish the previous item, pick up Chronos Pendant and sell off Vampiric Shroud to pick up Bancroft's Talent and you're done. On actives, you should consider getting Aegis and Beads if you're mid lane against Anubis, or if they have an Ares on their team, or Aegis and Sprint in almost all other situations. And so concludes the guide on Agni. If we tickled your fancy, make sure to rate and subscribe for upcoming videos. You can also come hang out with us on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch to see us streaming live. Links in the description. Feel free to leave your suggestions on how to play this god as well as any feedback you have for us in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, I'm Smitten, and I'll see you next time.
Good game. Bye.